Thank you very much. To Shan, to the Meme Factory, Yellow, and all the guys for inviting me to talk here. First, I missed the opening because, if you are from Venezuela, you are prohibited to use certain pieces of the financial system. So we couldn't pay for the first 2 nights here because, we have the incorrect passport, in this case from Venezuela. The idea is to talk about the hyperinflation, but before I was commenting with my girlfriend, but we are not in a hyperinflation no more. It's only 900% since last year in this same, it's not academically correctly to say that it is an hyperinflation. And in March, it was only 10% inflation, so it's normalizing. The situation is normalizing. People is starting to use bolivars again. No, they are not. But I just wanted to let you know why I was delayed. My name is Javier Bastardo. I'm currently, as Sean said, living here in El Salvador. I work with Bitfinex. I'm the Bitcoin ambassador for Bitfinex. And also, we are trying to push Bitcoin adoption from Venezuela with a little educational project that is called Satoshi in Venezuela. So the idea of this talk is to explain a little what does hyperinflation for the Bitcoin adoption. And I think that it won't be that popular because back in the day, it was this narrative around how hyperinflation would boost the adoption of Bitcoin and its use. But, we already saw that it is not that way. But let's start in 2017 because it was the first time that I went into this Bitcoin stuff and all. So I started writing for a Spanish crypto outlet named cryptonoticias.com. That is one of the biggest Spanish-speaking crypto outlets out there. And if you remember, in 2017, it was mainly blockchain and ICOs and let's tokenize the world. And one of the popular narrative was in Venezuela, as we had high inflation, we had hyperinflation. It will be easier for Venezuelans to understand Bitcoin, and it will be easier for Venezuelans to adopt this technology. Everybody is ready to jump into the 21 hard cap currency that Bitcoin is. So I started writing and also trying to organize meetups around Venezuela to see if that thesis was right. So let's say not only in Caracas, but in other cities, we went to organize these activities to show them what is Bitcoin, to teach them about the history of money, and all that sounds really good in theory. Our first event was in Caracas and it was amazing. We had more than 70 people attending and everything was really good in the city, in the main city of the country. But when you go outside of Caracas, the reality is really different. We are talking about a country that is being impoverished through the hyperinflation, but also that is trying to solve the most common and typical problems that you can face when your money doesn't work. For example, people finding Bolivar bills thrown in the streets like garbage. And your money doesn't really has the value that it's supposed to have. So obviously when you start talking about Bitcoin with all the people and said, yes, we have this that only have 21 millions and it won't change. It won't change the natural, the hard cap of Bitcoin, the 21 million hard cap won't change in any time. So it kind of makes some sense for some of the attendees. because yes, you see your bills in the street and you know that it is because of the printing and all the stuff. You may like think that yes, maybe Bitcoin is useful, maybe it could have its shot. But at the end, what I learned after doing these same meetups outside Caracas for some different days and times is that people really don't care that much of the hard cap of any kind of currency because, and it is a reality today, it's more popular the US dollar in Venezuela, Argentina, Turkey, wherever country you are visiting, because we are not that used to see the dollar as similar as it is to the Bolivar or as similar as it is to the Argentinian peso. People used to think that the USD is the ultimate store of value, so it makes sense for them to use dollars to avoid the hyperinflation. But it didn't make that much sense for them to use Bitcoin. And as a hardcore Bitcoiner, it was really like telling to me, because I was trying to show them an answer to the problem that I was facing, because I was in the country too. But at the end, it was like I was talking to nobody. Because yes, obviously, we are from the same country. We share I think we are from the same country. We're sharing the same problems. But at the end, you have to spend some time seated and learning why Bitcoin is important. That is not only the 21 million hard cap. That is, yes, it's really interesting in terms of inflation, but at the end it's more important it to be censorship resistant. But those are things that you need time to spend to learn. At the end, the average Venezuelan doesn't have that much time to sit and listen to a podcast or read a book, or even they don't have that much time to be in the internet researching Bitcoin at all. So how we can make this solution that I know as a Venezuelan that could solve Venezuelan related problems or inflation related problems to many, how we can communicate, how we can connect with those that we know that need this technology but doesn't see it as a useful thing or don't have the time to understand how it could be useful in that kind of a scenario. So it was really telling to me okay, maybe the message that I'm trying to push is not the right message. Yes, 21 millions and all that, but it needs it needs a better way to communicate. It couldn't be only through memes or through the comparison with the bolivars. Yes, Bitcoin is really good money against your bolivars. It's difficult to make people to understand that because it's too abstract, it's digital, it's not something that you can say, hey, maybe here in El Salvador, yes, but in Venezuela, it's not that normal to say, yeah, go with your Bitcoin and pay for something. It is a good example to show people that it's normal, but there are not that many options in Venezuela to do that. So that was the reality that I was facing. And let's say in 2020, 2021, and then we started to see more stable coins people in the country. The reality is that back in the day, when people was using Bitcoin to exchange their bolivars, it was mainly through local Bitcoins. Local Bitcoins now is dead. And back in the day, stable coins weren't that popular. So it makes sense for them to use Bitcoin in 2017, till 2018. But when the stable coins became popular, people, as I said, they see the US dollar as the ultimate currency. So it's normal for even in hyperinflationary context to use the USD idea or the USD denominated value to save your money. So that's how the potential Bitcoin adopters in Venezuela started to be stablecoin users, because they were more used to the one-to-one relation of the stablecoin to the dollar. Not because the stablecoin is better, it's just because they don't understand that the USD is more similar to the Bolivar than to gold or to a more established store of value. So it's the same thing that we see in different places, where obviously you have the option to use Bitcoin, and I hope that everybody take the opportunity that I took back in the day and said, yes, this is better than my local currency, but it's also better than the currency that I think that is the best one, that is the dollar. So I choose Bitcoin because I know it's the ultimate currency, but at the same time, I know that it's a process to convince the people or to show them how Bitcoin is really better than the options that they're choosing. And the other thing is how you can tell someone that your solution is better than what they are choosing. How you, even if you have good reasons and even if it's Bitcoin, why are you going to try to convince them to use something that they really don't want? What is this prescriptive thing that we have to teach the people? Yes, Bitcoin is the better solution. I don't think that that in that way we are going to convince that many people. At the end, the necessity that we had and how we started to use Bitcoin to avoid the local currency, it started a good movement and it started a good Bitcoin community in Venezuela. But at the end, the people is trying to fix the hyperinflationary context of the Bolivar with USD denominated stuff. So the main adoption of Bitcoin right now is through mining. It's really active, the mining stuff in Venezuela. Right now, it's more underground because the regime is taking an investigation over miners and is trying to take more control over Bitcoin mining in the country. But the reality right now is, even though with the hyperinflation, with the inflationary context, and all the ideas that we can, let's say, build around the depreciation of our local currency, is driving people to use different technologies, not specifically Bitcoin. And it's not that common even to use Lightning Network in Venezuela, even after 4 or 5 years of development of this technology. So at the end, is it sounds too pessimistic, but I think that what I learned and what is more important is these kind of technologies, we all know, we are here because we know that Bitcoin is useful and we are convinced by ourselves. But at the end, in the places that we may think that need the most this kind of solution, there is a lot of efforts to do in educational regard, and also trying to push for the local leaders to be more present, to have their voice heard for the community in general. because sometimes people tend to criminalize people in this kind of places for using other solutions that they may find that are too cheat coin related or something like that. But at the end, it's because there are real problems and people are trying to figure it out, like real solutions. And obviously Bitcoin is part of these solutions. And in a bull market, it's easier for us to make the point for people, like to show them that their money, the Bitcoin is actually better than their money. But it's a process. It's not that fast. It's not that straightforward. Like, it's not true. I think that it was Andreas Antonopoulos that made this idea popular, like in Argentina, in Venezuela, or wherever country where there is a high inflation, the local population will understand easier Bitcoin. So after all this year, from my experience, it's not true. At the end, people are trying to find the best solutions, are trying to find the best way to overcome the hyperinflation. But I think that as I discovered that Bitcoin is an answer to this, many people can like find the same answer. So the only thing is that it will take time. I hope that we can like keep helping, keep growing the community, and keep supporting local Bitcoiners in each of our countries that are trying to find a solution. So, yes.